Just
Make
like,
them wait,
2 minutes.
Fashionably late.
I'm just surprised how many people we have in the chat right now. Look at them. They're going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And, I shouldn't be surprised, but I am surprised because we're not using some of the usual promotional avenues we usually do.
That's true. Yeah. We were kind of low key on this one.
Right.
Yeah, and now we're live and they've just come in the middle of a conversation.
I know. Isn't that great? Hi, everyone.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Our names are on the screen. We don't even have to say who we are.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So I'm. No, wait. I'm.
Nope. Yep. There.
Oh. And
this is riveting, exciting television.
I'm this. Just in case we decide to release this as audio, what does yours say?
Mine says Brandi Jackola.
And I am Dan Gunther. Hello.
And I'm Bruce Gibson. And we're doing the Brady Bunch thing again. That's great.
Yeah, it's weird for me because hi.
From
Bruce.
now on, I'm going to do this when I talk to you on the show.
Excellent. I like it. Yeah.
It actually looks like we're talking to each other, doesn't it?
It does, right? Like we're just in the same room. But,
I know.
Just sitting across from each other.
Yeah.
Nice. It's nice.
It is nice.
Oh, I can picture you there.
I should acknowledge Dan. Hey, Dan. How you doing?
Dan.
Wait.
Wow.
This way. Hey.
Hey.
Hi, Brandi.
Look at you down there.
Yeah, you're doing all right. Yeah.
It's good to see you. But what are we wasting our time doing this for? There's a new Star Trek show.
I don't know. This was more fun. No, we did have a new Star Trek show. That's what we're going to talk about. Star Trek Picard.
Yes.
The premiere episode. Remembrance.
Yes.
Yeah, Remembrance.
Yeah.
I was wondering, first of all, if there were going to be titles because we hadn't had anything like that. We hadn't heard anything. And then kind of it was day of release. We found out it was Remembrance. Unless I'm wrong, unless other people knew and I just missed that somehow.
I didn't know. Actually, I'm in the same boat with you. I remember when the title came up, I was like, oh, did they ever announce titles? Because I totally missed that.
If they did, I missed it too.
Yeah, and then I guess we know the titles of the next 2 episodes as well now.
I didn't look.
Yep.
Which I can't remember off the top of my head now, but yeah.
Maybe the next one's called Forgotten.
No, it's oh shoot. Okay, hold on.
Liam, you made
really prepared here. So the next episode is called Maps and Legends.
Oh yeah, I knew that. I actually knew that because I watched The Ready Room.
Shoot. Oh, see, I never watched The Ready Room. I haven't had a chance yet.
Oh, I watched that too. I forgot.
I recommend it.
Oh, that's cool. See, I have to do the whole VPN thing because they're like, "Oh, you're not in the US." So
yeah, well, it's on YouTube, so you can just find it very easily. You can subscribe to the CBS, YouTube channel, and you can just find it there. And I recommend it. It's for no other reason, but there are other reasons to recommend it. Then they did a whole segment with Jeff Russo about the theme song.
Oh, excellent.
And that made me super happy. I've never actually seen him until now, and somehow he looks exactly how I pictured him.
Huh. Interesting. Interesting.
I've heard him, but just not seen him.
I saw him at STLV after the live concert they did. Like, it wasn't last year, right? Because I didn't go last year. The year before. And we were still like waiting. Yeah, after everybody left, we were still like hanging around. And he came out with the woman who does the and I was like, bravo, sir, bravo. He's like, thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into the episode, I guess. So, first of all, I'm happy that I'm keeping up with you guys bandwidth internet wise. So that's going to make the discussion a lot better. The start of the episode, we start with that dream sequence that was kind of shown in a released scene beforehand, a little bit of it. And the first thing we get to see, of course, is the Enterprise D set to the tune of Blue Skies. How nerding out were you guys over that?
I was nerding out because I mean it was like I knew of course right away where that came from. And then the second time I watched it was with my wife. And as soon as the song started, I paused it. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this throughout the whole episode, but I just have to ask, do you understand why they're playing this song? And she's like, she goes, yes, that's the last song that Data sang at the end of Nemesis. I'm like, I married correctly.
Nicely done.
I was surprised she remembered, but I don't know why I was surprised.
Nice. And in case no one knows for sure, that was the version that was sung by Bing Crosby. Mm-hmm. So again, a TNG connection in that Denise Crosby was Bing Crosby's granddaughter. Not was, is.
Absolutely. So yeah, that scene. So we've got Picard and Data playing poker, and I thought it was really, man. I just flashed right back to enjoying TNG and Data and Picard picking out Data's non-tell/tell. I thought that was a really cute scene between the two of them.
Yes. Yes.
It was. And Data's bewilderment is, I don't know how I'm going to fool you now.
It was Data. Like, it was so Data.
It really was.
Yeah.
The minute we saw the ship, Dave's like, well, there's a familiar sight. And I'm like, oh, yeah. It just made me super happy as well.
And I thought Data looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we saw some early things that were a little questionable. Some more than others, but I thought he was almost spot on from how he looked in Nemesis.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, if you really want to absolutely totally pick it apart, he's not going to look the same as he did 2 decades ago almost, you know, like it's not going to happen. But I think they did a great job getting him pretty darn close for sure. So kudos to them for putting in the work on that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that when you see something like that, you know that the visual effects aren't done, and yet still people fly off the handle and don't think about the fact that very often those digital effects aren't complete until very close to actual release.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just sometimes the way it works. And I mean, it happens all the time, and it just is so tiresome. I don't know why people can't just remember, oh yeah, they're still doing the digital effects. So maybe I should wait and see the actual final product before I fly off the handle and make assumptions. Maybe. Oh wait, I'm talking about humanity. Never mind.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, look at C.A.T.S. Like, their final version wasn't even their final version.
I'm not ever going to look at C.A.T.S.
There is true.
Nothing that could compel me to sit through that piece of trash again.
You saw it once. Or I haven't even watched it.
I have not seen the movie, and I'm not going to. I saw the play twice. I sat through it once because I thought, oh, well, this is like this great thing. And then after Act 1, I'm like, oh, it's not going to ever get any better, is it?
We already covered this in another live show.
Yeah.
I think it was the one that we went 2 hours on.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I hate cats.
Well, I bet you would see if it was called Star Trek C.A.T.S. Which, by the way, there is a book called that.
I have.
There is.
I have some cat pins that are. I have some that are Star Trek, and I have some that are Avengers. It's just, I shouldn't like them as much as I do, but I do.
Well, speaking of cats, Data has a cat that relates to Data now. In this scene, in this opening, that was my segue. In this opening scene, Data is in his movie era uniform, but on the Enterprise D. Why do you think they chose, whether production wise the decision was made or story wise, why is he in that uniform and not in his TNG Enterprise D uniform? Because we do see him in that uniform later.
Mm-hmm. I think for this scene, it's poignant because it's the last way that Picard remembers him. Because this scene definitely has that undercurrent of, you know, he has that look on his face when he says, I don't want the game to end. You know, the death of Data is the focus of that scene. So he's seeing Data in that uniform. And then the fact that it's the Enterprise D, which kind of, doesn't quite match that, I think is kind of a product of the fact that it's a dream, and dreams are always kind of jumbled. And, it's tying also to the All Good Things scene where they're playing poker at the end. So I think there's kind of a number of touchstones they wanted to hit. And I think that particular mix kind of did it for them.
Yeah. And I think it has to do with, especially in being a dream sequence, it's the things that Picard is most sentimental about. And so it would be the last way he saw Data, the first ship that was his Enterprise, etc. I think that those, and they were all by themselves in 10 Forward, which was, not normal. And it was very dreamlike. It was very dreamlike because I have very vivid and often frightening and troubling dreams. And so I was just right there with yep, I've had dreams like this.
Yeah. Rob Chapman has an interesting question and something that I kind of wondered about myself. What about the 5 Queen cards? So he played 5 Queen of Hearts. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's any significance to that? I couldn't think of anything myself, but
there was a Borg Queen that kind of loved him in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. I thought of that.
I thought that was kind of a stretch. I don't know. It may be something that the significance has yet to be revealed.
That's true too. It could be something that's we're gonna, go back to that at some point, maybe.
Yeah.
Like on a very basic level, it could be just, the unreality of the dream kind of coming apart, but it might have something more significant as well. So interesting.
Yeah, because sometimes... it's why would they choose queens when the writers of the story? Why not aces or kings or whatever?
Yeah, and why all hearts? Like all queen of hearts?
Right.
I don't know.
Why not?
Probably because it's an impossible hand, is what I thought. Is that it's impossible to have more than one Queen of Hearts, and also impossible to have more than 4 queens in a hand.
Right.
So to me, it was just like, oh yeah, well that's basically a weird dream thing. I don't know that it has any significance beyond that. I'm willing to accept it if it does have significance, but I don't think that it's something that we're going to pick up on quite yet. If there is significance, it's going to come. Oh, Bruce has got something.
Oh, okay.
Bruce.
I don't think it's significant to Picard. I think it's a little Easter egg. The Queen of Hearts, Alice in Wonderland, Discovery.
Okay, it could be that. That's kind of a stretch too, but it could be that too.
Or the Queen of Hearts frequently said off with his head and, Data died.
That's it.
That must be it. That's it. That's the one.
Okay, let's go with that. I like that.
Yes.
All right. Figured it out.
Right.
You heard it here first, folks.
We did. So, should we talk about the opening? Wait, after that, no, we didn't even get to the credits at this point. Then after that, we got to the scene in Dahj's apartment.
Right. Yeah, that is before the credits as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our first little not first, I guess that whole first scene was kind of a lot of continuity Easter eggs and stuff, but we get a Zahian. Her boyfriend is a Zahian like Queen Mihani Ikahali Kapo. Wow, I remembered her name.
Wow.
Nicely done.
From Short Tracks, I should say, and then later Discovery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
you've been working on that all day.
No, I just remembered it. I swear. We never got his name though, so we don't know if it's some long name.
What was her name that you said? This is another test to see if you can do it again.
It was Mihani Ikahali Kapo.
Okay, then he's Makahuhi Hali Kani Kautu.
Perfect.
I just named him.
Sure.
Anyway,
I wonder if he was named in the script, because you know what? Let's all check IMDb.
I was going to do that. I got my phone out. Here, I'm going to check.
Here we go.
I bet he's not.
Gets there first.
It probably just says alien boyfriend or something. Like
so on Memory Alpha,
it says Dahj's boyfriend.
Yeah, Memory Alpha just says Dahj's boyfriend.
Son of a motherless goat. Come on.
I had it open already.
Usually it's the female romantic interest that doesn't get a name. So it's nice to see it happen to a guy for once.
That's true. And I guess you could say he was fridged pretty quickly
He
too.
was put in the fridge. He was put in the refrigerator. Actually, that's not really true, because that particular saying is used as a motivation for a character to go and take somebody down, and that was not what this situation was. So
that's true.
No.
Yeah.
He'll get named in one of the novels or comics, so we'll get. I bet they'll call him like Vanilla Ice, because the only flavor she had was vanilla, and it was in honor of him. And now he's on ice.
I don't think it was so much her fault that it was only vanilla. He was talking about Earth's, or either the cities or Earth's in general replicator options.
So, yeah, they're limited.
Yeah, well, when you think about what Poe probably can program them to do.
That's true. Multiple flavors.
Mm.
So I really thought the fight scene was well choreographed, but I really liked it when they went in and they started attacking her and they pull the hood over her face and she stops struggling and she just stands there for a moment and they're like, oh no, she's activated, and she just boom. I mean, she's fighting these guys as if she can see right through it. I mean, I thought it was fantastic. That was pretty cool to me.
It was.
Absolutely. The choreography was great. I love that it's not like a mindless action scene. Like it's actually, the two kind of fight scenes we get in this episode are actually very spare as far as, the purpose they serve. They don't linger too long on it. It's kind of, they get the business out of the way pretty fast.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and that reviewer on Entertainment Weekly says this is perfect for immature dumbos like us.
Oh, perfect. Well, great. There we go.
Yeah.
It checks all the boxes.
Sorry, I just had to call him out. Anyway.
Yeah. One thing, and I and Patrick Carlin are the only people who thought this, but those blasters, I was just like, hey, the black hole. They had those in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Black hole.
The Black Hole, the movie from like 78 or 9.
I think it was 79, if I remember correctly.
A Disney version of their Star Wars in the sense.
Oh yeah. Oh, I own it.
Do you?
I do.
I want to see it. I haven't watched it since I saw it in the theater back then. That was the last time I saw it. I want to see it again. It's on Disney Plus, I'm sure. But
I don't think I think it may be. I don't know, but I owned it before Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So, but it may well be on Disney Plus. That would not surprise me. It is odd, to say the least, and it has really interesting casting. And I will say now that Maximilian robot still terrorizes me. Still.
That is terrorizing. Excuse me.
So I guess
never been sick.
Yeah, so she dispatches the attackers pretty quickly, and then I guess we get our opening credits scene.
Well, she has the vision of Picard.
That's right. Yeah, she does see Picard.
Why? Well, I guess we'll kind of get to that later, but that's the question I'm going to put out there. It's like, what is causing those vision? Why is that planted in her to see Picard? But we'll get to that later. But you're right. We get to the opening credits then.
So, what did you guys think of these opening credits? Very different, I think, from opening credits we've seen in the past. Closest maybe to Discovery, but still very its own thing. I think there's a lot of imagery here, which I think is really cool that we'll see come into play throughout the episode and presumably the season.
Well, that's what reminds me about Discovery is when you see those credits for the first time, there's images in there that haven't played out yet until later in the series. And so when I noticed that here, I was thinking, I'm noticing things, but then I'm like, well, what's that? And what does that have to do with anything? I guess we'll figure that out later.
And there are some things there that look like stuff that might be in space, but it also looks like the construction of an iris. So,
yeah, I think you can see like they talk about neural nets later and that sort of thing, and it looks like that's kind of being constructed as well.
Yes,
so,
agree.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a huge theme. Like, it's definitely a huge theme of this episode, and I think that's going to be a big push through the season, of course, because, of course, like they said, it's chapters in a book. Like, it's not there's no standalone stories in this. It's very much continuing through. So I think some cool stuff there. We see okay, so I think we see like the archive that Picard visits later. I think we see the Borg cube that we see at the very end of the episode, jumping ahead here. And like you said, the iris and that kind of thing. We see what I'm assuming is Romulus being destroyed by the supernova, and then the pieces kind of form Picard's face, and then we see Picard. And I think this is the first opening credit sequence in Star Trek that has like one of the characters in the visualized in the credits, which is kind of cool.
Yes. Well,
wow, I hadn't thought about that.
It represents him as being kind of fractured. And I liked that because it alludes to his current mental and emotional state when we first see him in this series. So I thought it was very telling.
Absolutely, yeah. And even watching it the second time, I noticed at the very start, it's like the world itself, right, is kind of fractured because you see the sky and there's that the crack forms and there's a piece that falls. And so I think it's saying this world, the world of the late 24th century, is fractured. There's a division going on, and I think we kind of see that later with the reporter, for example, and Picard's reaction to that reporter, which I think was my favorite scene of the whole episode, but we'll get there. But that's hard to say. There's a lot of great scenes, but yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
So that sequence, the end where Picard's the pieces are kind of placing on his face. One time I watched it after seeing the episode at least once. I thought it almost made me wonder for a moment, wait, is he being put together like a synthetic person? I'm like, I would not think they're going to play this out, that we find out later that Picard isn't even the real Picard.
No, don't. No, they can't.
That will not go over well. Not at all.
They cannot do that.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I don't either. I don't think that they would go that far. I was going to say something and I think I've forgotten. I hate when I do that. Anyway. Oh, I will say this. Okay. So I hadn't heard any of the music, of course. I had no idea what the whole opening credits would be. And, you know, I'm listening to the music. I've listened to the theme song like 50 times now. And okay, maybe it's more 40, but I've listened to it a lot of times. And this was before I actually watched the episode of The Ready Room where they have that bit with Jeff Russo and the thing. And I thought, oh, this is starting off with a really sort of like a piccolo flute. That's like the inner light. And there's also a very subtle phrase from the original Star Trek Next Generation theme. And I'm not talking about the one at the end. I'm talking about da 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 da.
Yeah, it's just like picking a little phrase out of it.
It's so much slower. And it's just, and it skips some of the notes. It's so subtle, but I'm just like, ooh, nice one. And then the cello comes in and I'm just dying. I cried, you guys. I cried during the opening credits and I couldn't even tell you why.
I can't believe that. You never cry.
Yeah, it's very subtle, but it kind of infects you a little bit. Like the melody is very subtle, but there have been a couple times, and I've only watched it twice, and I've actually only listened to the theme twice. I haven't listened to it outside of the context of the show. But and probably also because it's appeared in the trailer a little bit, I every once in a while get that ba ba da ba, just that little bit kind of pop into my head from time to time, and I'm like, oh, like it's definitely evoking something like this melancholy a little bit, but like remembrance as well. Oh, that's the name of the episode. You know, like it's just little things, and I'm like, you know, I think the music is really brilliant in this, and then of course, on what is definitely the like, you know, penny whistle, same as the Ressican flute, that right at the very end, of course, is just like, oh, my little heart.
Yeah.
Your little queen of heart.
Ah.
And Votrek says listen to it with headphones turned up. I agree with that.
I did that today. Yes.
And it is just like, because I found somebody on YouTube who had lifted out just the opening credit sequence so I could listen to it without actually watching the video part. And it's you experience it more when you don't have the visuals going on at the same time. And then when you put it all back together, it's just a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to do that, because I've done that with the Discovery theme, and there's subtleties in there that you don't notice when you're, just waiting for the show to come back on and, enjoying the credits, but you're just watching it on your TV. You're not listening for the music. And I imagine this is, definitely has the same qualities to it.
Yeah, if I have to listen to something like that, like the music or anything in this episode, I have to do it from my computer with these little headphones on. Because if I watch it in our family room, my kids are always like, "Dad, the TV's too loud. Dad, turn down the TV. What, are you hard of hearing?" So, no, I'm not hard of hearing. I just like a lot of sound.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm the same way.
I took my kids to a movie theater one time. It was one of these like Dolby theater thing experiences or whatever. And when we were leaving, I said, "Wasn't that great? They even have the subwoofers under the seats." And they're like, "We hate it. Never take us here again. It's too loud." Like, oh my gosh, when I was a teenager, I loved loud noise. I don't get it. They like soft noise. They should be in like retirement homes.
Yeah. Our local theater, well, there's more than one local theater, but this one is only local to Utah. And they have their big theater that has the really nice luxury seats, not just the luxury sheets.
I like a good luxury sheet.
Seats.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I do too. That 500 thread count cotton. Anyway, there's luxury seats and then there's luxury seats, and this one has like Barco lounger size luxury seats, and it's also the one that has the Dolby Atmos sound and picture.
That's the one.
And so it's just kind of like every time they do the Dolby Atmos introduction, I'm just like bracing myself, and then it's just like, okay, let's go. But I don't hate it. I actually find that it creates a better experience, because when we first went to see Avengers Endgame, we were in that theater, and then the projector broke down and we didn't get to see the rest of the movie in that theater, and we had to come back for a showing like 12 hours later. And it was in a much smaller theater with not the Dolby Atmos, and it just wasn't as immersive. So I have no complaints about that.
You know what? If anything's going to happen that's going to be wrong in an experience, it's going to happen to Brandi.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that, Brandi?
Pretty
I've noticed
much.
that you tell me stories and you're like, "Well, when I went, let me tell you what happened. The restaurant was picked off of Earth and thrown into space. We had to go to another restaurant."
Hey, ask Dave. Weird stuff happens to me all the time.
That's so weird. There really must be something in the universe. I worked with a woman that every time she used to tell me, you never want to travel with me. Weird things happen. And sure enough, the first 2 times I traveled with her, weird things were happening. It's so strange. By the way, speaking of weird things, I think it's weird that we're a half hour into this and we only got through the opening credits.
Well, the opening credits were a big deal for me, you guys.
They are a big deal.
It's true. Yeah.
It's a really big deal.
So I guess now we find ourselves back at Chateau Picard, right? After the opening credits.
I'll tell you one silly thing that happened before we started. No, it's something that Dave and I both did. Okay. So before we started Picard yesterday, because we got home and we were gonna have dinner, and I'm like, and we've got to watch Picard. And he says, "Picard?" And I said, "Yes, Picard." And then we both go, "Picard, bye." And if you've seen it,
I knew that was coming.
I know. That's the thing. Because we both heard it in our brains before we said it. So now it's Picard, bye. Forever changed. Anyway, there now it's ruined it for all of you as well. Sorry.
You're crazy. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
I'm just looking at you right now.
I know. It's just nice to see you.
So Chateau Picard, this is so nitpicky, but the part. Sorry, the part when number one. Yes, first you see Picard in a distance, and number one comes running like towards the camera. The next shot is a close up of Picard, and number one is immediately running back with him with his little treasure, his little surprise, and that edit kind of bothers me because it's so like, no, the dog just ran away and he's immediately back with something. It doesn't flow right. I almost wish they took the dog out of him running away and just introduced him running towards Picard. That's just a tiny little edit nitpick.
I thought it was a jump in time because that's a pretty big vineyard.
But but if you look at how Picard is standing, it's like the same position. I just in my head canon, Picard's just standing there for like a minute without moving.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, in this particular series, the guy is in his 90s, so
he's not going anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do we think of the dog?
I love the dog.
Yeah,
I love it that it's a pit bull, and I love that he named it number one.
And he's a rescue. He's a rescue.
I actually wonder, and I've seen people kind of speculating online, I think from back when the trailers were on, they were wondering if this was a service dog because like he wakes up from this nightmare and he immediately comes over and he says, "It's all right, number one," like he's comforting Picard, like not a service dog, but like a support animal kind of thing. I just, maybe not. I just think it's kind of a nice notion that, he's been having some issues kind of thing and the dog's good for him. That's good.
Well, he's an emotional support animal, plus he knows when people are bad.
I liked that line later. Besides, if you were dangerous, number one would let me know kind of thing. Number one's like like she's good, she's fine. She killed those 3 Romulan assassins, but she's fine.
I wanted to grab his little face and just squish it. The dog, I mean, not Patrick Stewart. Although I could do that.
Well, I would say, you probably would.
Squish it.
Well, and then we see Romulans there too. When they show the chateau, like his home, and they zoom in, and the music's playing and all that. I almost felt like it was Downton Abbey for a moment. Like, oops, I'm on the wrong channel. I switch over. But then there's the one woman there, and I just think it's kind of funny. She has a slight like Irish accent, and I was I didn't know there were Irish Romulans. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, not all Romulans are American, and they all walk around with American accents or whatever, North American accents.
And then we hear one with kind of an English accent later on in the show too. Yeah, so I was like, okay. I guess it's not.
There's various accents on Romulus.
Yeah, there we go. It's just it's how the translator renders it, I guess. Or Laris, who's the woman, I think.
Yes, Laris is the woman and Jaban is the male.
Jaban, right? Okay. Maybe she, spent some time in Ireland and just picked it up.
Well, it has been several years since the last time that we saw them. If you're reading the Star Trek Picard Countdown comic, you will know who they are.
Yep,
which
absolutely.
As I was watching it, I'm like, are these the same people? Are these the same people? They got to be the same people. And so I'm like getting my comic out and furiously checking. It's like, yes, same names. So
yes, issue 3, the last issue comes out Wednesday.
Yes,
Wednesday the 29th.
Yes.
Yeah. And Good Tea, Nice House. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say.
What is Good Tea House saying? Good
tea, nice house. Get it
right. When Dan gets praise, he calls them out. So everybody praise Dan. So if you want to get called out on the show.
Yeah, get a shout out from Dan.
I was just trying to be nice.
I know. Well, I like that they say they like your positive insight because you're doing a podcast with me soon called Positively Trek.
Yes, which has been delayed a little bit, but we are still working on it, and it is still coming out sometime soon. And Bruce, I need to talk to you about some stuff to do with that at some point too.
Oh,
so
yeah. Okay.
There's been some movement. So
Juicy danglers.
That's our plug. Coming soon. Yeah, slight delay, but it's coming.
Yeah.
We're staying positive about it.
Yep, definitely.
Hey, not only just we have those Romulans there. What else was I going to mention? There was something else in those scenes that I just forgot about. But I like that he was speaking French. Picard's
to the dog,
French, since he grew up in Paris. Well, in France, not in Paris, but in France.
And the dog was pretending not to know French.
Right.
The other thing that I noticed in this scene, of course, is when he orders the tea Earl Grey decaf. And of course, StarTrek.com already has a mug out that says tea Earl Grey decaf on it for those of you who wish to order that.
Do you know,
not a sponsor.
I watched this episode 3 times now. And I have to say, by the 3rd time, just slightly annoyed. By the way, I love this. I'm just being a little nitpicky. But I was slightly annoyed that I think Earl Grey comes up like 4 times. Like, I feel like they're like Earl Grey's being like, okay, we get it. Yes, we know he likes Earl Grey. Like, it just keeps coming up through the episode. I just thought it was a little weird. Anyway, that's
a good tea.
It's a good tea.
No. I like that. I think I saw somewhere it was like reasons I drink Earl Grey tea. It tastes good. Jean-Luc Picard drinks it, and the check mark is next to Jean-Luc Picard drinks it.
Earl Grey a great tea. Name for a podcast.
Have either of you actually ever had Earl Grey tea?
I have. Oh yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Are you kidding?
Do you know why it has?
I drank it only because of this. No, why does it?
It's because of the bergamot fruit.
Makes sense.
Bergamot is a citrus fruit that is not very widespread, and I think is only found in a very small region of Italy, if I remember correctly. And it's like my favorite citrus scent of all time, and it tastes like it smells. It is just, it gives it this I don't know what, or je ne sais quoi, as they say.
I think it smells better.
What the French call a certain I don't know what.
Exactly. That's what je ne sais quoi.
Yes. For our French viewers, there you go.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. What else is going on?
So yeah, he's going to do this interview. This is
let's
what
talk about the interview. Let's talk about that interview.
Let's get there because
let's talk about the people we saw in the background during that interview.
Before we do that, before I forget, when we're talking about the tea and he orders the tea decaf, the display is the acoudogram, the Elcars, and which I was waiting to see if we would see that design on any display, not on everything, but we see that and at the archive. So I thought that was
slightly
cool.
Updated, but
slightly
definitely that very iconic TNG onward Starfleet computer look, which was really cool. That was really nice to see.
I just wanted to call that out because I remembered that now. So yeah, what were you just saying? That the interview?
Yes. Oh man. Okay,
that was your favorite.
Go ahead, because I have thoughts.
Well, she wasn't going to ask about his, leaving Starfleet, but then she does.
Yeah,
how typical.
3 times she would not ask about his leaving Starfleet.
And my first thought was, oh, she is totally going to ask about that.
Oh yeah.
She is totally going to bait him up one side and down the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she was so smug about it.
Oh, yeah. That I've got you. Look. Oh.
But then he got her at the end, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
The one line that really stuck out to me that I just absolutely loved, where I forget the number, but it was like we were talking about millions of lives, and she says Romulan lives. Just, no, lives. I was just like, yes, because, and I mean, I actually had this discussion with somebody today. We were talking about how so much of what's happening in the world is from a lack of empathy. And I started on my rant that like some lines on a map that people drew hundreds of years ago determines that those people over there are scum and us people over here are great. And like how stupid that idea is. And it's something that we haven't gotten past in this century. And it looks like it's something that we're going to continue to grapple with, if this is any indication. And yeah, that reporter, I just wanted to, oh man. Yeah.
I wanted to punch her in the throat because then she'd have to shut up.
Wow.
Yep, I felt violent. I felt very violent and defensive. And I wanted to punch her in the throat.
Yeah.
She didn't even know about Dunkirk.
I loved that he called her out on that because that's exactly what I thought when she said Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna pretend I know exactly what you mean.
It's like,
but Picard's gonna leave a pregnant pause there and say, like, yes. All right, well, moving on. And then he called her out on it. You don't even know what that is because you don't connect with history. You don't have any connection to it. You just, that was brilliant. I'm sorry. I love that scene.
No, it's a great scene.
And it ties to what he says later towards the end of the episode about how he's been writing books about history that people would rather forget. And we all know what happens when we forget history and don't learn from it.
Absolutely.
We are doomed to repeat it. And this tends to happen like every 30 years in this world, that every 30 years we forget what we did and we repeat the mistakes of the past. And I just don't understand. I do not understand why humanity cannot get their stuff together, because we are in this together and we are all people. We are all the same under our skin. We have hopes and dreams and loves and life and death, and our blood is all the same color. So what the hell, people?
Absolutely.
Okay? We are not going to survive by fighting each other. That is not how this works. Grow up and learn how to cooperate.
You immature dummies or dumbos, whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
no.
Initially,
never apologize for that. Ever.
No.
More people need to hear that.
Initially, Starfleet was helping Romulus.
Well, the Federation.
Or the Federation.
He convinced the Federation, and the Federation said, "Okay, Picard, we're going to task Starfleet to help with this. You're in charge now."
Right.
And that was why they were building all of those ships at Utopia Planitia, because I watched the Ready Room episode. And so it was the Federation that initially said, yes, let's do this. And then they tasked Starfleet to make that thing happen.
But then they stopped helping the Romulans because of the attack on Mars.
Because of the attack on Mars. And I got some theories about that.
Well, do we want to hear those theories?
I don't
usually have theories this early, but this is kind of how I feel about it, judging by what we have seen in this episode. I feel like that the Romulans were behind the synths going rogue and attacking the planet. And the reason that I think the Romulans were behind it was because it wasn't all of the Romulans who were behind it. It was a situation where there was a group of Romulans that were, let's call them Section 31, but Romulans. And they did not want this to happen. They did not want to be beholden to Starfleet or the Federation. They didn't want to join the Federation. They didn't want the help of the Federation. They wanted to do things themselves. And so they created this situation that could not be connected directly to them, but ultimately destroyed the rescue operation. And the reason that I think that is because, towards the end, we see a huge freaking Borg ship that they're working on with one of the synths, which we know is a synth now. And I'm like, oh, well, isn't that convenient? And where's Maddox? Maddox disappeared. I think the Romulans have him.
Yeah.
That could be.
Ooh, that would be cool.
That's my theory.
That sounds good.
After one episode, that's my theory.
No, it sounds good. It'll be interesting if it plays out that way, because we can come back to this and say you got it on the first episode.
We'll see.
But it's kind of sad if that's true, that the people are being rescued, and just because, it's the Federation that's helping us, we want to stop it. That just affects, their own lives and being saved,
Yeah, well, the Klingons did the same thing.
Well, Klingons are messed up.
That's true.
Yeah, Klingons are messed up, but so are Romulans, you guys.
Yeah.
Not all Romulans. I'm not painting all Romulans with the same brush.
Well, they don't have the same accent, so.
Exactly. Well, there's going to be regional accents in every culture, no matter what species or race you are.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I just feel like and the thing is that this series is quite a bit darker than, Next Generation. And I am all for that. I don't have a problem with that. We're dealing with real problems here that are things that we're actually facing right this minute. And so I am there for it. So I could actually believe this whole dark, shadow people in the Romulan government or behind the Romulan government saying, we're not going to have this, and triggering that attack.
And we know that Patrick Stewart agreed to do this show because of the passion that he feels for things that he sees happening in the world around him, both, in the world at large and in his country, the UK. There's a lot of parallels there that, are pretty apparent just from this first episode, but I think are going to be even more apparent as we go forward. Refugees, for one thing. The Romulan refugees, like the attitude of the reporter towards Romulans in general, and then Picard having Romulan refugees working at his vineyard and his desire to rescue as many as he could and all this kind of stuff. Like, I think that whole idea of not just Romulan lives, like all of that stuff is there's so much resonance with what's happening today.
Yeah. So, and if I'm wrong, I'm fine with being wrong, because this is one episode.
I think you're close to being right.
Well, there may be aspects of which I'm right, in which case I will be happy. I mean, everybody's happy when they're right? Well, not always. There are times when I've been right and I wish I hadn't been. I wish that I had been wrong, and that's usually a situation where, something bad is going to come of something, and I'm just like, I don't want to be right about this, and then I am, and I was like, But yeah, we'll see.
Gosh, okay, yeah. My head just went somewhere because you were talking about. I don't know. It just went somewhere. But
when you're talking about her head thing coming back, there we go.
When you're talking about when you're talking about the Romulans and the synths, that I'm thinking, did we ever see a past connection between the two? And in a sense that we did in Nemesis, because it was not necessarily the Romulans, but the Remans. Shinzon with B4. They had him because they're the ones who planted him for the Enterprise to find it. So I'm just wondering if there's a connection somehow related to that eventually.
Interesting.
Yeah. To be fair, I think that most Romulans are probably just normal people going about their daily lives, and they just have a bunch of jerks that are the ruling body. We don't know what that's like.
Can I say that's one of the things I'm loving about this show is like right away we see two just everyday Romulans. Like, all we've ever seen is usually anyway the military bowl cut Romulans who are out to make the lives of the TNG crew miserable.
Right.
And just right away we see salt of the earth, just Romulans being people. I love that.
Like on Unification we saw a little bit, but not
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And we're also seeing different looking Romulans.
Thank heavens.
Some with the forehead thing and some not.
I hated the forehead ridges. I hated them. I thought, what is the point of doing that? Are you I think it was because I bet that was like a producer decision, because they're just like, no, people aren't going to understand that these are different from Vulcans. So you have to make them look different, hence forehead ridges. The thing is that you can tell that they're different just from their behavior. That's the whole cool thing about Romulans and Vulcans. Same parent race. They look the same, but they don't act the same. They have very different philosophies. And so that's the intriguing thing, is you can't tell just by looking at them. You have to interact with them.
And like, even this episode, if, we were just casual viewers who hadn't read the Countdown comic, you'd start the episode and you'd be like, oh, there's Vulcans. Oh, no, those are Romulans, because they're being all Romulan-y.
At first I thought, oh, Vulcans. And I'm like, oh, no, wait, they're smiling and joking. Those are not Vulcans. Absolutely not Vulcans. And then that was when I was like, oh, is it Jabana Lyris? Is it Jabana Lyris? So, got really excited. Sorry.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, my goodness.
What was that?
That was a stifled cough. I apologize for that.
Yeah, Dan and I
coming out.
Dan's been sicker longer and still sick. I was sick. We just recently recorded literary tracks. Oh, wait, there. Have a drink. I said literary track twice.
There we go. Yeah.
I forgot to pour a shot glass.
We were struggling through that, and I finished editing it today. It comes out this Sunday, but there's a lot of editing of coughs from both of us and clearing our throats.
I didn't envy you that editing job for sure.
It wasn't that bad, but I was just listening, going like, "Oh my gosh, I feel bad for both of us." So, Dahj shows up as a stranger, but number one likes her right away.
Yeah,
she can be trusted.
Yeah. So let's talk about Dahj. I think this is an interesting character, and okay, I had a very early theory about her when the early trailers were first coming out, and it kind of almost turned out to be correct because so. We're kind of jumping all over the episode, but she turns out to be modeled on Data's painting that he titled Daughter. And the painting looks a lot, I would say, like Lal.
Yes.
And one of my very early theories was like, is this Lal?
And I was still
wondering.
So
I'm gonna say a 0.5 check mark on that because she
that's true.
Is.
She does, yeah. Because even when this episode was going on, I kept thinking, is that really Lal? I mean, is that her?
And they keep dropping little hints, like because Picard kind of recognizes her, and then we learn, of course, it's from this painting. But that's I thought that was a really interesting connection, and they don't call her out by name, but the painting is called Daughter, and we know that Data did create a daughter who lived for a period of time, and that was Lal, right?
So did Data create her? This one?
I think the implication is Bruce Maddox did.
With one single cell of positronic brain from Data. How he has that, I can't explain. Unless he took it without somebody's permission. Long ago, say during Measure of a Man.
I didn't think of that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
She gets a point for that one.
Oh, yay!
That's cool. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
My theory before I knew anything about Dahj was that she was some kind of new Borg that could appear completely human but was still cybernetic, and so I was kind of like 5% right, and that she wasn't human. So
yeah. Well, points all around.
Points all around. No,
I
haven't received any points yet. So what he
the
says,
transitive property.
She says to Picard, "I know you." And I know that I feel like, you can protect me. And she's had visions of him. And this is going back to what I said earlier. Is this from that piece of Data that we think? Why does she know who Picard is?
Or something
out?
Yeah, it could be, from Data's influence, or it could be something programmed in from Bruce Maddox, maybe. There's the one scene where she contacts her mother.
Yes.
Which was really interesting because, she contacts her mother and her mother says, oh, you need to get back to Picard. And she's like, well, I can't, but wait, I didn't mention Picard. And there's that little stutter. Like, so is all of this manufactured? Like, is this all a manufactured memory and like holograms or something, and some programming or something? Like, I don't know. And at first I was like, oh no, this is a manufactured message to her and it's going to point her in the wrong direction. But no, it's saying go back to Picard. Okay, so this is something designed to protect her. That like if
almost
you get found out,
programmed. Yes.
Yeah, find the person who will protect you, and that person is Jean-Luc Picard, which really interesting. Like I'm curious to see what the origin of that is and where that through line comes from.
Yeah. It's like she's programmed that if you're ever in danger, this is the person to seek out.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of those things were put in place for the moment when she does activate. That I basically looked at that conversation with her mother as a conversation you would have with a holodeck creation. That it has all of these pre-programmed responses for any particular inquiry or situation. And that's where that little static came in. I'm like, oh, well, now it's switching to the new particular line of questioning and has programmed responses for that. That's exactly how I found out, because there's no way she has an actual mom.
Yeah, like that just doesn't track. Like it doesn't make any logical sense with what we find out, right? So
yes.
Yeah, I wonder if her, like you said, quote, mom and dad are worked at Daystrom.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So they're aware of who she is and know how to initiate that program.
Yeah. Or if they're entirely manufactured memories too, could be.
The thing is that I'm not entirely sure that they were manufactured at Daystrom. Because if they had been, wouldn't somebody know about them?
Yeah. No, I think they were manufactured elsewhere. Either Bruce Maddox has got a like fly-by-night android creation thing going, or
on
someone
a Borg
co-opted
cube with the Romulans, maybe?
Could be, yeah.
Because we don't know how old they are.
Yeah,
we do not know how old they are. They could be days old for all we know.
That's true too, yeah.
Yep, that's true. So I have to bring this up. The necklace.
Mm-hmm. It's already for sale.
Of course it is.
Did you buy one yet?
No, not yet.
Oh.
Why is this necklace so unusual? I just mean that's the one thing about this episode that really kind of bothers me is I don't think it's that unusual of a necklace for Picard to be like, that's an unusual necklace. And then to the point that he then takes it with him to Daystrom and, as if he suspects that it's something more. It just looks like a regular necklace to me.
It doesn't to me. The design of it is not typical, to say the least. Because, I mean, it's not a pendant, for one thing. It's actually got this specific kind of shape to it around the neck. It has a more rigid chain. Well, it isn't even really a chain per se.
Yeah.
And the symbols, the intertwined symbols on it are stationary. They don't move at all. And that is unusual in women's jewelry.
So Picard is an expert in women's jewelry, because I would not have picked up on that.
Well, I was looking at the necklace and going, oh, that's interesting. It's not your usual thing.
He's a very cultured man,
Indeed.
Yeah.
He's like, I've purchased many necklaces for women in my life.
Yeah, he's a player. Yes. I think, well, and when oh, heaven's sake, what's her name? Agnes, I can't remember her last name. Thank you. When she explains what it represents, which I can't remember that either. I should have written it down.
Doesn't it represent? Well, I don't remember, but it's, to me, the two rings represent the twins in a sense.
It does, but it represents the creation of twin.
Fractal neuronic cloning is what they call it.
How did you find that, Dan?
Because Dan is awesome.
That is thanks, and I'm going to do a shout out here, thanks to the very good people who very quickly edit Memory Alpha's articles. So I am on the Memory Alpha page for the episode, and they've got like pages long plot summary already. Which
so Dan's been cheating this whole episode.
I did remember Dr. Girardi's name right away. Yeah. And that's actually because I'm a huge fan of the actress Alison Pill. I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation, but that's her name.
Yeah, or something.
She's I've only ever seen her on the Newsroom, and I loved her on that show. And so I was really excited when they cast her. So I was like, "Oh, who's this character? Ooh, a cyberneticist." So I'm like, I'm a Dr. Agnes Girardi fan. That's weird, but yeah.
I did love her reaction when Picard asked her if you can make a sentient synthetic person that looks like a human, and she's just like, "Oh, you're serious?"
And the whole time he's just
looking at her, stone faced. Yeah,
that was a great moment. I enjoyed that.
Me too.
Definitely.
I also love seeing the Anaheim Convention Center throughout this episode.
Yeah,
right.
I've actually been there a few times. That was really cool. I was like, oh, it's the Starfleet Archives.
Well, I knew that they shot the, and then we'll see that in the next episode, Starfleet headquarters and all. I knew that they had shot that earlier in 2019. So I was at the convention center in July. Yeah, in July. And every time I walk around with my wife and the kids, I'm like, we're at Starfleet headquarters right now. We're at Starfleet headquarters right now. We're at Starfleet right now. We're at Starfleet. I kept saying that through the whole thing.
Oh, I was there in December and I was supposed to get a picture in front of it, but I totally forgot.
You'll be back.
Oh, yeah.
I had been past it, but I've never been inside it. My sister Brooke has. Lucky.
Speaking real quick of insight, when Picard walks inside and he looks up and you see the holograms of the Enterprises above him, in the earlier shots in the promotional reels that we were seeing, that shot of him walking in always had an exit sign above the door, and I thought that's really weird to see that exit sign on Star Trek, and they digitally took it out in the episode.
Huh.
Well, of course.
I know. I was hoping they would, because I was like, that looks kind of weird.
Yeah.
So,
was the episode over at this point? No,
because so we've just learned about the fractal neuronic cloning. So apparently this process creates twins. So earlier in the episode, Dahj died, which was a very shocking moment.
Yeah, I'm just like, wait, what?
Is she really dead?
It was like someone had punched me, like in the chest, and I'm just like,
because I was like, I know she's a main character, like she's in the main cast. Very strange. And I mean, like, maybe it's, and I started thinking maybe it's like The Mandalorian, where there's just a character who's in like 2 episodes or something, and they're, then they're gone or whatever. But no, we do learn that they're twins, and there's another one out there.
Yeah, when I saw when she died, I thought, oh my gosh, is she dead already? And I was like quickly running through my head, wait, have I seen some trailers that show that she's still what, like, did we see, oh no, wait,
Yeah.
And then I thought of a few little things I saw, and I was like, but maybe those were on the cutting room floor. Maybe she is really dead.
Yeah, and that scene where Picard finds out that they're created in pairs, I said, "Oh, so there's another one," and then he says, "Oh, so there's another one." David and I started laughing.
We speak in pairs.
I'm predicting Picard's lines now.
And also, right before that, we got the question that we've been asking forever: who's in the drawer? Is that Data? Is that B4? Is that
I thought it was B4.
I thought it was B4 too. So we did get the answer to that.
Because Brent Spiner did say it was B4 in that interview, which might have been a misdirection, but it turns out he was just being legitimately open about that.
Wow,
so
he's being honest for once, huh?
Yeah. So that was cool. That was interesting to see B4, and it does make me wonder where Lore is, because the last time we saw him, he was deactivated at the end of Descent Part 2. The season 7 premiere of TNG. And it also had me wondering where Lal is, because presumably her body was, in the possession of Data on the Enterprise D. What happened to it? Like, where is the deactivated Lal,
It's still in the crashed D saucer.
I don't think
on
so.
Viridian 3.
No,
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
they're not going to leave something. They're not going to leave Data's daughter behind like that. Come on.
Well, maybe Dahj is Data's daughter, Lal, but reprogrammed and repurposed. And, no, because her insides also emulate human organs. So that
she eats and drinks and such.
That was the one big thing, because the first time I watched it through, I didn't really pick up on that, they looked human inside and out, and they very clearly say that at one point. but for some reason my brain missed that, and I heard like androids that look completely human, and I was like, what about Data's mother? What about Juliana Tainer? She looks totally human.
And that's why it stuck with me, because I was thinking the same thing you were. I'm like, well, what about?
Yeah.
Like, even just recently, you know, with the androids that we saw in the Discovery short treks with Mud, and then
right.
you know, but that's why it stuck with me. And they said Inside Out.
Inside and Out. Yeah, the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, right, yeah,
right. Yes, exactly.
So replicants, basically, like totally synthetic human beings, basically.
They're actually in every way. They're just synthetic. It's not that they just look human. You know, it's not machine parts inside of something that looks human. So it's all inside and out. Maybe we are synthetics for all we know.
You never know.
I don't know.
She's activating.
Oh no. Brandi activated a long time ago.
Yes, true.
So I guess, the final bit after this realization that they're twins, that there's two of them, we then go to this Romulan reclamation site and meet Dahj's twin, whose name is Soji, I believe.
Yes. S-O-J-I.
Right. And she's talking with a Romulan, the aforementioned British Romulan, Narek, I think.
Narek.
Which, okay, guys, I gotta get this out of my system, because guess what the first thing I thought of when I saw when he says his name is Narek? I said, oh, so your name's Karen. Because have you ever seen the movie The Watcher in the Woods? Again, a Disney movie. What the H is going on here? There is a scene where a little girl is kind of possessed a bit, and she is writing a name backwards on a foggy window. And she sees it as Narek, but everyone on the other side of the window sees it as Karen, and they freak out because Karen disappeared and everybody's assuming she's dead. And but yeah, so every time I hear the name Narek, I'm like, oh, so your name's Karen. You're just Karen now, dude. You're Karen.
That's funny.
I didn't know that. I haven't seen that movie. So
he's gonna ask to speak to the manager.
Yes. Anyway, I know I've ruined it for everybody. Sorry.
So wait. Beta Artemis says Narek is the president of Spock's butt.
Well, he has a very beardy Spock vibe going on, you guys.
Actually,
come
when
on.
he first walked out for a slight moment, I was like, is that Ethan Peck?
No, I knew it wasn't Ethan Peck because he was not nearly as buff.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And besides that, if it was Ethan Peck, I would know. I mean, they would have publicized that after the fact, after the episode come out.
Of course. So there seems to be some pretty heavy flirting, I think, between Narek.
I've done it. I've ruined it for everyone.
And Soji.
Karen and Wow. No, wait.
Yeah, or wait. And then basically after that, there's kind of this pull-out shot that, we see the surroundings, and then we get the sense, oh, there's kind of Borg stuff in the background. What's going on? And then we get the big, long pullback, and it's
I know, I love it.
The Borg ship, right?
I'm watching it. My wife, they post her part. She goes, "That's a Borg ship, isn't it? It's a Borg ship, isn't it? Isn't it? That's got to be. It's a Borg ship, isn't it?" And I'm just sitting there, not even saying a word.
I love that the shot's long enough that there is all of that. Like, I think it is. Is it? I think it is. I think it is. It? And then, oh yeah, there it is.
That first shot of when the Romulan ship's flying in, I did think I wasn't thinking, oh, it's around. I was like, gosh, that looks Borg. Mm-hmm. That was my first thought, but I didn't think it actually was. I just thought, oh, it looks Borg.
I think just from going over the trailers so darn many times and seeing that there was a Borg ship that had Romulans on it for some reason, having established something, I was like, oh, okay, this is the Borg ship. Cool. Right at the start there.
He says a very interesting thing. Karen says a very interesting thing to Lol. He says, you spend your whole day fixing broken people.
I noticed that, yeah.
The last thing you want to do when you get off work is listen to, my problems. And she's like, and then she says, guess again. And I'm just like, what
fixing broken
people? And
the
then it
fact that
zooms
it's a
out and it's the Borg ship.
reclamation
And I'm like,
site.
And that's when I got that theory.
Why do you think she's there, Brandi? Like, what got her there?
I think she's been placed there.
What does she think how she got there?
Oh, I'm sure she's had a memory implanted in her that she is there for a very, like an exchange program. I don't know, something like that. But I'm sure that there's a very, very reasonable memory of why she's there implanted.
And why would they want a synth there anyway?
I don't know yet.
Yeah. And plus they were going after her sister. So they wanted both of them.
It's possible that they can't detect this new level of synth. And so they're trying to eradicate anyone that they come across. And I don't understand exactly the whole activation thing. Whether it's when they're threatened, they suddenly become badasses, or what's going on there. But I feel like they haven't achieved that same level of synthetic production. And so they are trying to get there, but also maybe trying to eliminate the competition. I don't know yet. I don't have enough facts.
As you were saying that, it just made me wonder if they're even trying to resurrect those that have died because of a supernova, in some manner.
Possibly.
Again, I don't know. There's so many variables going on here, so I guess we'll see.
Maybe Sela has a twin. Denise Crosby's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, if it's Silu, it'll be a ridiculous cockamamie plan that will blow up in her face. So that's good at least.
Right.
That she will gloat and gloat and gloat and gloat until, she just loses as per usual.
In both the television and the novels.
Just like, oh, this again.
No.
Well, I guess since we're at the end of the episode, I just want to mention something I thought was a little strange because I watched it the morning it premiered on a Roku device on CBS All Access, and it had a slightly new CBS original opening title, which Dan, I know you couldn't see, but it was something a little different, which I liked it a little better. And then when the episode ended before the credits, they showed a coming up next.
Coming up this season.
Yeah, coming up this season.
Oh, so I haven't seen that. Interesting.
So when I watched it on a different TV from an Apple TV device with my wife, it wasn't that same CBS original opening, and they never showed the coming up later this season because it went straight to the credits. I turned to my wife, was like, wait, when I saw it, they showed previews. And then I watched it again from my laptop, and all the stuff I saw the first time was there again. It's really strange.
That second one is probably the cut that we see here, because that's how this was and how all the Discovery episodes have been. And I have watched the CBS All Access version when I was in the States. And I've seen like the CBS All Access original and then the preview at the end, and all our Discovery ones went from the episode to the credits, and then this one as well, just straight from the episode to the credits. So we don't get that little trailer here.
Well, you'll see the episodes eventually anyway, so
yeah.
And they'll put that stuff online. So Beta Artemis says in the chat to me, Disco Enterprise appears in the hologram when Picard looks up in the Starfleet building. I did notice it was the Disco Enterprise, because when they showed the Enterprise, the original Enterprise, and then they showed the D, I went,
the 1701, no bloody A, B, C, or D.
I went, oh wait, I rewound it back because I wanted to see if it looked like the Discovery version of Enterprise. And I noticed that too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was that, yeah.
One thing I'm going to say before we end, when Picard goes to the Picard room in the archives,
Yes.
And
which we didn't really talk about.
No.
The Captain Picard Day sign is there. That touched my heart. But there were also all of these other little Easter eggs. Like there was a little model of the Stargazer, you guys.
Yeah.
That was in his ready room, right?
So tender.
And what was kind of funny was they had a model of the Enterprise E captain's yacht, and directly right sitting on the shelf under my TV is the Eagle Moss Enterprise E captain's yacht, because we were doing this thing where we were rewatching all the films before, Picard got here. So I was, when friends were coming over, I'm a total nerd. So I was setting up the models that would be in the movie that we'd be seeing. And we had an Insurrection and Nemesis double feature for the last one. So I had the captain's yacht sitting there and I was like, oh.
You're in the archives.
Yeah, it just made me really happy that they still have ship models,
Yeah.
I love ship models, man.
See, that would be my job in the 24th century. Like, that's what I would do to better myself and the rest of humanity. I'd build little models.
Excellent.
That'd be great. Oh, and there was also, of course, the duck tog and the batleth.
Yes, of course.
Sitting there, which was good.
Of course.
That was cool. And other stuff too that I can't.
I know. I wish we could have seen some better close-ups of that stuff. That would have been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or even a behind-the-scenes featurette would be kind of cool.
I'll bet there be one on the Blu-ray.
I wonder, weren't those things displayed at either STLV or something this past year? I mean, I wasn't there, but I think they, think it was STLV.
And the San Diego Comic-Con as well. I think they had like the Picard exhibit kind of thing. They had his like costumes and the flute and all that kind of stuff as well. I think that's what I thought of when we went into there for sure.
Brian Malash says something that I remember when we were talking about the opening theme. I knew there was something that I had, and I have it written down. I was going to mention, and then I just forgot about it. They used the Discovery font for the word Star Trek, the word Star Trek, where all the promotional materials and trailers and everything to this day still use the TOS font for Star Trek.
Yeah.
Which is
I
really
noticed
odd.
that. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I always had the feeling that the title we were seeing in the trailers and stuff would not be the final title. I thought it would be changed more than that.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it would just be they swap out the TOS font for the Discovery font. But I was like, oh, that's different. Okay, interesting.
Well, we call it the Discovery font only because Discovery is the first time we've seen it. But my guess is that they're going to be using this font for all new Trek.
It could be, yeah. And I guess they use it for short treks as well, which has been primarily Discovery stuff. But
but not all.
Yeah.
But so they didn't use short treks in Children from Mars.
They actually used the TNG closing credits font, which I thought was really cool.
So
interesting.
Anyway, I think it's interesting too. I just think it's interesting.
Nerds.
I think it's interesting that they're always using the TOS font for Star Trek and all the promotion materials. But like you, Dan, I was thinking, well, that doesn't mean that's what it's going to look like. I thought, it'd be probably something totally different. But the Picard with the A being the Delta, that remained the same. It's just the Star Trek now became what's used in Discovery, which is behind me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought that was interesting that they would do that.
So I think the only thing that bugged me, and I'm gonna call it out a little bit, is how many times we saw the Discovery shuttles flying around in the background and stuff, which not a huge deal, but I'm like, those are 150-year-old shuttles.
Are those the only shuttles we saw? But we saw some that looked TNG, didn't we?
Were there?
I saw some.
Okay. There might have been a few others, but I remember seeing that Discovery shuttle a whole bunch of times, which does look a lot like the TNG shuttle as well. So I'm like, whatever. But I was just like, oh, I want more new stuff. But that's just that's a minor quibble.
I feel like Earth and Starfleet in general have evolved past planned obsolescence. And so if it's still working, then you still use it instead of using resources to build something new.
That's true. Yeah.
That's
how long did we see the Miranda class flying around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I'm looking at my notes just to see if there's anything that we haven't discussed that I wanted to bring up, but I think we got it all. Well, no, we didn't talk about Data in the vineyard.
Yeah, the painting scene.
Yeah, I mean that was fun to see. I mean, I guess we kind of talked about the paintings and what it means and all that, but
yeah, well, they were also in their TNG season. What? When did they start getting the shirts?
Season
three forward. Yeah,
season 4. They were in those uniforms. Both Picard and Data were in those uniforms.
Yeah.
So it was once again one of those funny little dream things.
Yeah, but also like in that case, because of when Data painted that painting, like that was another, because he said 30 years ago when he was on the Enterprise D, he painted those paintings. So I was like, watching it the second time through, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's what he wore when he painted that painting the first time. So
yeah. Well, I didn't really worry about that aspect of it. I just thought the whole scene was interesting. And and I was going to say something else and now I've forgotten. I hate when I do that.
I'm sorry. I should not.
No. It's not you. It's all me. Oh, I remember what it was. And then he wakes up on his desk and I'm just yeah, I have been in that place where I have fallen asleep, not realized I had fallen asleep, and wake up with a start and not quite know where I am for a minute. I have been there.
Yeah. My wake up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say my wake ups in that situation are not usually as dignified as that.
Agreed.
Usually there's like a little puddle and I'm kind of like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, and I'm just like, and I'm just like looking around for a minute, going,
okay, where am I? Who am I? What's going on?
I was asleep.
I've never fell asleep on a desk like that. That's so weird. I've never done that. I don't think I could. It seems so uncomfortable. But when I saw that scene, when he wakes up and I see him at the desk, my first thought was, oh, is this the scene where 7 and 9 shows up and says, what are you doing, Picard? Because he's in that same room.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Which it would have seemed really too soon for that, but that was what I thought at first when he first woke up there. And second thing, did he sleep like that all night? Because
I don't think so.
No, yeah, I don't think so.
I think he was having a nap, an unplanned nap, to be honest.
But you know, the Romulan woman, what's her name?
Laris.
Laris comes in and says the girl's gone. I got up she said something like, I went and checked on her at 5 and she was already gone. So
yeah, but he wasn't in his jammies.
No, but what I think is he didn't change to bed. He was like probably up at his desk thinking and working whatever and fell asleep and woke up that morning and she comes in and says the girl's gone.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Still, he's gonna have an awful crick in his back.
Yeah.
And his neck.
Yes.
I've fallen asleep for half an hour on the couch. I mean, it's a couch. And I wake up going, I'm 37.
Yeah, well, I'm not.
Neither am I. Wait. What part of Data's daughters are actually artificial? That's from Stress Free K.
That they were created in a lab as adults and were not born of a person and grow.
So all parts are artificial.
Yeah, I would guess so.
They were man-made and not in the usual way of being man-made.
Yeah.
You know.
So all parts.
They didn't come from eggs.
No, unless Data's more talented than we thought. Why do when I talk, it gets quiet?
You've noticed that, have you?
I just don't know.
Nice.
Anything else?
So what did we all think of the episode, I guess? I mean,
Okay,
oh my God, I loved it. I posted the Kermit flail gif.
So, going into this, I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know how far of a departure this would feel in the style of TNG. I didn't know if this would be like me watching this thinking, oh gosh, there's going to be a lot of Star Trek fans that aren't going to like this. This is a little too far, a little too different, or whatever. I thought they did a great job of doing that balancing act between the old style of storytelling and production and then this one. So, and I think the thing I was surprised even more so is how much of this, in a sense, is a mystery with all these little pieces that do connect to TNG, and how much Data's role is significant to this overall story. Even if we don't see dream sequences with Data again, he's overshadowing this whole story because this involves something that he helped to create. This is his daughter. I mean, there's a lot there about Data. I mean, in a lot of ways, you could call this series Star Trek, Picard, and Data.
Yeah.
And there was no mention of Crusher. I'm wondering where she is.
Yeah.
Well,
so I loved it. Yes.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dan? Of course, other than loving it.
I mean, yes, I loved it for sure. And I see Bruce in the comments wants me to give him a shout out. So shout out to Bruce.
Yay!
Yeah, no, I loved the episode. I think that was a big part of it. Kind of what you were saying, Bruce, was, you know, we were warned beforehand. This is not going to be a continuation of TNG. This is not Star Trek The Next Generation Part 2. This is something different. This is the next chapter of the life of Jean-Luc Picard. And there's a lot about it that is, you know, like you said, hearkening back to TNG. It's picking up those plot points and running with it. I thought I would be over the moon if there was even the slightest possibility of maybe a hint of a mention of Bruce Maddox at some point. I remember thinking that weeks ago. And the fact that, yeah, there's a mention of him and it's integral to where the story is going to go next. Like, that's huge. So it's not a continuation of TNG, but I absolutely buy this as the world 20 years on from TNG. It works for me. I feel like, you know, the Star Trek universe has this particular, how do I put it? It's the future world, but it has this obsession with, antique stuff. Like, there's just this particular feel that Star Trek has, and this, I think, captured it very well. So on that level, I'm loving the aesthetic of it, and story-wise, I'm invested. I want that next episode. Like, as much as I would hate a Star Trek series dropping like Netflix does things where they drop a season all at once, I would not like that, because my life would just be a wreck for 2 days. Like, it would just be awful. Yeah. So I'm glad they don't.
I was arguing that with my sister Brooke this very day.
Yeah, so I'm really glad they don't do that. That said, like, give me episode 2 now.
That's what they want. They want to leave you wanting more. And that's what they've done. And I described it earlier to some friends as saying it is familiar and yet new. And that is a very hard balance to strike, and they nailed it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking what you're saying about binge watching. I prefer that we get these kind of spaced out so that we can talk about it and we'll rewatch it until you get to the next one. But sometimes waiting a week is like painful. Like, I just want to be here. And as you were saying, talking about that, I thought, I'm not saying I want to see this done with Picard, but I'd like to see a series I'm invested in like this that does not drop it all at once, but maybe releases an episode each night. So if you have 10 episodes, you'd have a week and a half where every night you're getting the next chapter, the next chapter, and the next chapter. I think that would be fun. It's kind of the middle of the two.
Yeah. It'd be kind of almost like a mini series in the 90s, right? Like, you had those 5-night mini series that would come up. I would love a Star Trek story told like that.
Yeah.
Oh, the 90s, sweetie. They did that in the 80s first.
Oh, no, I know. They also did it in the 90s.
I know. It's just, I remember watching miniseries in the 80s. But
I think the one I was thinking of was The Stand, just off the top of my head. That's why I said 90s. But
no, I totally get that. I kind of get where you're coming from, Bruce, with the one episode every night, but that is also assuming that you don't watch anything else ever. I don't have that level of time.
That's true.
And so, and the only reason that I got caught up was because I had 12 days off during Christmas, and basically my husband and I just binge watched everything that we had been trying to see since it had come out like a month or however many weeks earlier. We watched so many shows, you guys. Watched so many shows. Not that it wasn't worth it, but I don't want to do that all the time.
No, I just thought it would be an interesting middle ground. Beta Artemis says Torchwood, Children of Earth did that.
Yes,
every night. But
and I could not keep up then either.
Yeah, that would be a problem for me too. I'm just thinking, if you're going to drop them all at once, maybe just do it like one a night. It might be kind of fun because, like, the Marvelous Miss Maisel on Amazon Prime. Like, that's an example of my wife that drop it all at once, and then my wife and I go to watch it, and we watch an episode, and she goes, "Well, let's watch the next one," and then that ends. Let's just watch one more, and I'm like, I don't like to watch like that, especially when it's starting to get late at night. I'm like, I gotta go to bed, huh?
Yeah.
And then the next night she wants to watch 3 more, and I'm like, I don't want to live Marvelous Miss Maisel every night for 3 hours for the next summer. I love the show, but no, I don't want it that much.
No, and even just from a story point of view, the mystery that they're setting up, I love that we watch an episode of this and now we get to talk for a week about it and try and think about this. Whereas if they dropped it all at once, you're like, oh man, I wonder where Bruce Maddox is. I wonder where this Soji story is going. Click. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
now, you know what I mean? Like, I love this. We
have this aspect of doing what we've been doing. Is like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that, or oh yeah, I didn't notice that before we get to that next episode. And if everything dropped at once and we watched it at once, we would be doing this live show one time only, and we would be done. We're like, wow, we got our Star Trek Picard, and now it's over.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess movies are that way, but. You wait forever for the movie.
Yeah, movies aren't 17 hours long.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just like the idea of, like, every week for the next several weeks, we're getting a new Star Trek something.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, because this is such a big deal, if they put out one episode a night, I'm not going to have time to watch one episode a night. And so there are probably going to be spoilers. I would just have to disappear from the world completely until I was able to see everything. So I'm fine with the once a week. It builds tension and excitement, and I like it.
I know you're busy, but I'll say this. If they did it every night, you would find a way.
I know I would.
I don't know. I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning.
And you would. I know I would. If I had to, I'd get up at 4:30.
No. I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning.
And you get up at 3:30. Okay, wait, let me say this real quick. This just reminded me. Thursday morning, they dropped. I didn't know what time they were dropping it, but I knew when I got up the morning Thursday, it would be on CBS All Access. So I found out it dropped at 3 a.m. Eastern and at midnight Pacific. So those on the West Coast were already watching it at midnight. So, but I didn't know this. I woke up at 5 o'clock. Like, I didn't have to get up till like 7 on Thursday. I woke up at 5 o'clock, actually maybe a little before 5. I couldn't fall back to sleep. I kept thinking, Picard's on right now. I bet it's on right now. I could get up now, but I really should sleep. Like, I don't need to get up this early. I don't need to. And I struggled with that. And then I started hearing my kids getting up for school, and I'm like, well, now I'm not going to watch it because I'll be interrupted. And I waited till everyone left at 7:30. And as soon as they left, bam, I was out of the kitchen. I came down to my movie theater room, turned the projector on, turned on CBS All Access, and enjoyed life. First thing in the morning. It was the best day. Anything else in the day wouldn't bother me because I just saw a new episode of Star Trek Picard.
And
so bring your bad crap from work at me. I can take it today.
Exactly. I thought here in Canada, and I had read somewhere, and this is me running a YouTube channel that's supposed to do Star Trek news that hasn't lately. I was like, well, Crave TV gets it on Friday, was what I had it in my head for some reason. And I was at work on Thursday, trying to not be on Twitter, but of course I went on Twitter and I saw a tweet from Crave saying Star Trek Picard streaming now on Crave. And I was like, wait, what? So I opened my app, I went to Crave and saw Star Trek Picard, season 1, episode 1, Remembrance. This is like 10 in the morning. I'm at work. I'm going, oh my God. So I go into the settings for the app. I turn off the little switch that says do not stream while not on Wi-Fi.
Oh no.
And all I watched was the opening scene up until Mars explodes and Picard wakes up. And I was like, okay, stop.
Oh my
God.
No.
And I was like all day going, I gotta get home, I gotta get home, I gotta get home, I gotta get home. Got home, turned on the TV, turned it on, set up, got there, pressed play and then pause, and waited very patiently for my fiance to come home.
Oh.
Then she came home and like I had gotten takeout. She got home just a couple minutes later. I got the takeout already and said, guess what we're watching? It was so exciting.
Wow. So it was on Thursday.
It was on Thursday.
Because with Discovery, it doesn't show up on Crave till Friday.
Right. Yeah, it shows it airs on
Space.
CTV Sci-Fi or formerly the Space Channel
right.
on the Thursday, and then it showed up on Friday on Crave, and usually like the evening Friday. So I don't know if this was a mistake. I hope it's not a mistake. I hope this continues for the season because that was so much fun.
But is CTV Sci-Fi showing Picard, or is it just Crave for this?
No, it's showing on CTV Sci-Fi as well.
Both.
That's So I don't know what the timing is there or what, but yeah, I was very happy.
Yes.
Nice.
Cool.
Boat Trek says Crave will Boat Trek in the chat says Crave will release Picard at 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in Canada.
All right. Awesome. And Stress-Free K Daystrom is the guy that built the computer that took over Kirk's Enterprise. That's right.
Yep.
That's true, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's name an institute after him.
He also invented the computer that was already running the Enterprise at the time.
I know.
So
I know.
He did good stuff.
Oh, I know. I'm just throwing shade.
It's just so Crave and CTV are owned by Bell Media.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they're doing it at the same time. Well, no, but Space wasn't owned by Bell Media before, was it? I don't know.
I think it was.
Okay. I just think it's interesting because they would separate that before, and now they're doing it at the same time. I'm sorry. Yeah. I get interested in this kind of stuff because this is what I do in my day job.
Inside baseball for Bruce.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? We got another episode coming, so
yeah, we're gonna have to do this again next week. I think
I'll be here.
I will also be here.
Will you be here, Bruce?
Yes, I plan. Well, wait, am I? Yes, I'll be here. I don't remember.
Think about it.
Well, I gotta think. I hope I'm not going out of town. Am I going? Because there is one weekend I'm going. Oh, but I'm not leaving till Saturday morning. Okay, so that'll be fine. That another weekend. So don't worry about that. What was I gonna say?
I don't know.
Plugging literary treks again.
Yes.
We're going to review Picard Countdown episodes issues 1 through 3 of that. That episode will come out on February 9th, just so you know.
Yeah. And the one coming out this Sunday is for Hollow Men by Una McCormick, who is also writing the first Star Trek Picard novel, which is coming out in February. So,
yes. And that's a DS9 novel, the Hollow Men one. So that comes out this night. So in February, we're going to have 2 episodes of Literary Treks. I know we've cut back a little for now, but we'll see. But it'll be Picard Countdown, and then the next episode will be that novel by Una McCormick.
Right.
So, and more than likely, Una will be on.
Yes.
And we're hoping, wait, let me check my email. Has he replied? No. Mike
Nope.
Johnson,
okay.
We're hoping he's going to come on about Countdown. So,
That would be cool. Yeah. We've had him on the show before.
Yeah.
I think he likes us. I think he's okay with us. So
I
hopefully.
know he likes you. Yeah.
Well, I'll be sure to give him a
likes
shout out
you.
on the live show then, I guess.
Oh, actually, he just put in the chat that he really likes you, Dan.
Oh, all right. No. All right.
Hey,
You guys.
you
Yeah.
guys. Hey,
You
Brandi.
guys. Yeah.
You know what? You talk a lot about Picard,
I
don't
do.
you?
I do.
But you also like to talk a lot about Discovery.
I do like to talk about Discovery.
And you're on a show about Discovery.
Am I?
Yeah.
No, I
Tell us
totally.
about that. Tell us what you do.
On Trek FM. You can find that at trekfm.com. We do the Star Trek Discovery main show, The Edge. Me and Liam Smart and Nick Conson, and we are having a grand old time. We just recorded an episode recently about the ships of Discovery. We foolishly thought we could get through all the Starfleet ships in one episode and laughingly got through about 5. So it's going to be a series now. That episode will be coming out I think in another couple of weeks. And so we're going to cover the Starfleet ships in Discovery. We're also going to cover Klingon ships and any other ships in Discovery. And we love talking about ships. That's going to be fun. So, awesome. And then when Discovery Season 3 drops, guess what's going to be happening there, Bruce?
What?
You and me, live from the Edge, and a guest to be determined. Rotating guests, yo. We're going to be doing that. And
you guys still want me over there?
What? I will take you anywhere, Bruce.
You guys are doing the Edge without me. It's just not fun.
Dibs on one of the guest spots, by the way.
Always.
Oh, they don't do guest spots. We don't.
No. He's talking about live.
Yeah, we don't do guest spots anymore.
Oh
no, I'm kidding. Yes, live from the Edge. Yes, with guests.
Yeah, and I do a podcast with my hubby Dave, and I'm going to announce. I'm dropping this bomb. So I have also started, it's not released yet, but I have also started a solo podcast where I talk about my fandoms. I talk about my fandoms, Trek being a very big one, and it's going to get a lot of attention while Picard is running. And how they have formed and affected my life. And there may be childhood trauma. There will be childhood trauma talked about because some of these things have led to childhood trauma, which I am now over. It's fine. I'm fine. And it is called Headcanon. And so...
Wait, is it
cool? I love
it. Spell canon. How's canon spelled in this one?
C-A-N-O-N.
Okay. I didn't know if it would be the double N, like your head's a cannon. A play on words. Okay.
Nope. I'm going on about the stuff in my head, yo. You get to go into that dark and scary place with me.
Wow.
So
it's just you.
It's just me, all by myself, having a conversation with myself and talking about myself. So as soon there is a feed that is being set up now, and as soon as I have, website to give everyone, I will. I have a good friend who's going to be doing the artwork for the show for me, and so yeah, look for that in the future.
Cool. That's awesome.
I definitely want to listen to that.
but Dave, I do the Dark Corner podcast, which you can find at darkcornerpodcast.com.
Wow.
Very cool.
What you want me to say? What
Dave,
I do?
Bruce, do this stuff. What's the stuff you do? What's the stuff
what
you do? Literary tricks in life. What you do?
Stop it!
What you do?
Stop it!
What you do?
Stop it!
Okay.
I don't know them.
What do I do? I do podcasting stuff. There's a show on Trek FM or Trek.fm, whatever way you want to call it, called Literary Treks with Dan Gunther about Star Trek books and comics.
We talk about these.
Yes.
Books.
So pretty.
I'm jealous. I never bought that. I almost bought that. Anyway, because I have my original version.
Oh, you mean this one?
Yeah, mine looks more like that. I also do a show on Trek FM or Trek.fm, whatever you want to call it, with Brandi, Jackola, whatever you want to call her. And it's called Live from the Edge. It comes out the day after a Discovery episode, which I think we've already discussed this, but anyway. And then it's released as a podcast on the network. And then I do Star Wars crap on a podcast called The Star Wars Report. And it's with Riley Blanton and Mark Herleman whenever Riley remembers to tell Mark we're recording. And I saw someone in the chat earlier say, hey, it's the Star Wars Report. Oh, no, wait. That was like way at the beginning. So, yeah, I'm on that. I do that occasionally, but probably not as much. I haven't done it as much lately. And then what else? I'm just watching to see if we lose people as I talk. Then, wait, is that it? Oh, then this. Oh, and then we got a new podcast.
Why is my subscriber count going down? Just kidding.
There goes that Patreon stuff.
Oh man.
So then Dan and I are going to do this Positively Trek podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be totally honest with everybody. Dan came to me with this idea last summer about maybe doing a podcast. He says, but I want to do one, but I don't, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But I don't want to do it without you. I'd like to do it with you, whatever. And all I thought was, do we really need yet another Star Trek podcast with two white guys? And then after several months, I said, yeah, actually we do.
If it's you two white guys, I'm all in.
Exactly. And we went through so many names.
Oh man.
I can't even remember now what some of them were. We have a whole list.
Yeah, we had it. My favorite was Some Kind of Podcast. But then one day, like I was like, it's genius, brilliant. Let's go with that. And then I decided to Google it. Like I had every other name except that one for some reason. And of course there's a podcast called Some Kind of Podcast, which has nothing to do with Star Trek, which is a huge waste of that name, I think. But anyway, that's just me.
Well, and then there was some other names I don't even want to say because who knows, we might want to use those for something.
That's true.
Someday.
It's true.
Because there were some really fun ones and some really good ones and stuff. So Positively Trek, because it's all about being positive. This is about positive fandom. I'm telling you, there's a cesspool of podcasts and YouTube videos out there of negative people that all they want to do is rip apart things. And you know why? Because they get listenership and viewership because people like to hear people complain. We're going to be positive because that's how we are naturally. We are positive. Even if we don't care for something, I didn't say hate. If we don't care for something in Star Trek, we still like it. We still like Star Trek. We'll be critical about it, but in a positive way. And you know what? For anybody out there who's negative, we'll rip on them. Or at least I will. Because we're positive that we don't like them being negative. There you go. That's my spiel. You can find me on Twitter at Admiral_Rex. I've been sick for almost 2 weeks. I'm feeling better, but dang it, I'm back.
I'm starting on week 5 of being sick. So
he is.
Oh, I hope you don't have the same thing I do. Cause you can find me here. This is my YouTube channel, C.A.T.S Productions. I promise I'm going to be making more videos. I've been sick and I've had a job that's occupied so much of my time lately. That's all changing. I'm going to be back. I promise, making more videos, including, of course, deep dives on the continuity, touchstones, and Easter eggs in each episode of Picard. So that'll be coming sometime this week. You can find me, of course, on Literary Treks with Bruce, as we've talked about. Someday soon on Positively Trek, and on Twitter at Kertrats, Kertrats. It's just Star Trek backwards, if you hadn't figured that out. Facebook.com/Kertrats Productions and all of those great places. So anywhere where people are talking about Trek, if I'm not talking about Trek with them, I'm probably lurking and reading the comments. So
yes. And just so you know, again, going back to Positively Trek, we have a Twitter handle out there called Positively Trek. You can follow us to get updates on the show. Right now we have 12 followers. So we're like really knocking it out of the park. You are.
Do we have any tweets? Are there even any tweets?
There is one tweet.
Whoa, one tweet.
I think, yes. Wait, yes. Check out the tweet, Dan. You see what I tweeted the other day? I thought it was I wanted that to be our first tweet.
Ooh, who likes?
Yes. Now, I'm not going to tell anybody what that first tweet was, but it's significant.
So you're going to have to go to the
listening
Twitter
right now, go to Twitter. I don't want you to just read the tweet. I want you to read the tweet, but then follow us. And if you don't want to follow us, that's fine. But I really would like to see if we can get up to 15 tonight.
The challenge has been laid out. People in the chat, get on it.
3 people. And we don't need any of our 12 to unfollow us tonight. We need to keep that 12. I know I've been rambling. Just stay with me for this. Don't unfollow. Let's get up to 15. I'm going to hit refresh. I want to see if 12 changed anything here live on the show. Here we go. This is exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, we just went from 12 to 16.
Oh,
thank you, everyone. Thank you, the 4 people out there. Appreciate that.
Good job, chat. Well done.
Amazing.
Well done.
Good job.
Well done. And for that, for the 4 of you, we will do a live show next Friday about the second episode of Picard.
Definitely.
Excuse me. There's that sick thing going. I'm going to hit refresh just one more time because you never know if magic has happened in the meantime. Happened. It's now up to 18. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just increased our followers by 50% in less than a minute.
No, this is exciting YouTube stuff happening right now. I mean, you don't get this on any other channel.
And I will put it out to the chat right now because this show is basically over. I don't know what you're saying. My favorite thing about doing a live show is the end, because sometimes the fun parts after show goes great. I can turn this off right now and things get weird between the 3 of us, or I could leave this on right now. And so I'm going to say is if you're in the chat, if you want to, give us a topic suggestion or a question, we might entertain that. It doesn't have to be Star Trek related. Okay. And if Brandi or Dan wants to leave, you can go and I'll do my own one-man show. We'll get into my head canon.
To be fair, when you're doing a one-person show, you don't have to rely on anyone else and you can schedule it whenever you want. So
that's true. That's nice.
That is one of the benefits of doing it by myself. Plus, I have a lot of stuff to say that when I am by myself, I have a captive audience.
That's true. Hey, we're up to 20 followers now. Wow, sorry. Hey, if we get 4 more, we doubled our followers in one evening. Just saying. How many people on Twitter can say they doubled their followers in one evening?
I mean, hopefully any new Twitter account. Anyway, sorry. No.
Well, it depends on, if something happens and they get trending. Like Devin Nunes's cow went to like 500,000 followers overnight. So,
Okay, Brian, if you got a camera, you follow me on. We're connected on Facebook, aren't we, Brian? Aren't we, Brian? Aren't we?
Why do hot dogs come in packages of 10 and hot dog buns come in packages of 8?
Oh,
I don't. You're buying the wrong hot dogs.
When I buy hot dog buns, I think they come in 8, and the ones I buy, I think, get those Martin's potato rolls. Oh my gosh, I grew up with those things. They're so good.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know. They start in Pennsylvania. They've been slowly migrating around the country now.
I don't know if I want to buy a hot dog bun that migrates. That's weird.
It's
well, they shouldn't do that.
They migrate to the point that when you buy 8, it turns into 10.
Oh, No, that's not migrating. That's reproducing.
No, they might. Wait, hold on.
Oh man, this went places fast.
Yeah, but most packages now come in packages of 8. For the most part, I haven't seen a 10-pack in a very long time.
I haven't seen a 6-pack on me in a very long time. As a matter of fact, I've never seen one on me.
Same.
If you buy, if you want to equal it out, you'd have to buy what? 5 packs of hot dogs and 4 packs of buns.
No, that's wrong.
40, right?
No, buns come in 8. Hot dogs come in 10. Yeah, so you'd have to buy 4 packages of 10 hot dogs. And then 5 packages.
I read it wrong.
Of buns.
Yeah,
I thought it was
so
the other way around.
so like it's the same like logic that when you buy chips and you buy salsa, right? You use up the bag of chips, but you're only a little ways done the salsa, or 3/4 done the salsa. So you buy another bag of chips, but then you only use half the bag of chips to use up the salsa. You're like, oh, I got to buy another salsa, and it just continues like that. That's what they're going for.
Then somebody's eating salsa wrong at our house.
Someone's eating salsa wrong at your house. Yeah. Look,
your mileage may vary.
Brian!
Hat.
Hi, Brian!
Oh, he's better dressed for the part than any of us are.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
You got to turn the mic on.
It's because I turned it off after we recorded.
That's right.
Oh, there we go.
I was just saying that here I said that I wasn't going to be on at all, and now I'm on camera.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You're foolish just like we are.
You know what? Yeah, anyway, that was the point I was making, though, is I have the wrong font.
Oh, no.
I was wondering the hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
They got to re-release all the merch with the new font now.
I know. I don't know why they did that, because everything, like even the graphics that were shown at the end of the episode had the classic Star Trek font, not the Discovery font. So I don't know. It's an interesting choice. I liked it this way. I just wasn't expecting it to look the other way. But
yeah,
that's my only criticism of it. That's and so in other words, I have no criticisms of this episode. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, look at your hat now as a collector's item.
Oh yeah.
Rather than a mistake.
There you go.
Yeah, you'll be like, yeah, this is, you know what, years from now, you'll be like, you know why this looks different? This was the promotional hat logo.
Yes.
Like this is the you can't get these anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want that hat. If you don't like it,
you can get it on Amazon. I actually got it for a birthday gift. That was my birthday was a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, is this officially licensed Star Trek product? Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Amazon.com.
Maybe you'll see Picard wear it on the show. Wait, no, that won't work.
No.
I was just thinking Archer with his, NX-01 hat,
Oh, I love those hats.
Those are great hats.
I was going to say, I was getting to a point where I was in so much anticipation for this show that I started worrying, it's not going to be as good as I'm, hoping it's going to be. And then it turns out to be even better than I was hoping it was going to be. Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's Emmy worthy, although, Star Trek never seems to get considered, but
yeah,
only for visual effects and costumes.
Yeah.
And makeup. That's it.
Yeah.
I think it deserves a little more, but we'll see.
I absolutely agree.
I agree too, but it's like the Academy Awards. They tend not to honor sci-fi with any awards other than the
technical, I guess.
The technical stuff. And that is infuriating and offensive.
Absolutely. Definitely agree with that.
Thank you.
I like the idea of them winning an Emmy. That would, because TNG did get a best series nomination.
Season 7, yeah.
Season, yeah.
Actually, recent video I made for the Captain Picard Day, where a whole bunch of YouTubers made videos. I've about like pivotal Picard moments, I picked the line must be drawn here bit from First Contact. And that scene is Oscar worthy. And I'm not just talking about for Patrick Stewart. I'm talking about for Alfre Woodard as well.
Yeah,
they are both incredible in that scene.
I was so thrilled when she was going to join that movie.
Oh, this far, no further.
And I will make them pay for what they've done. Oh, man.
Yep.
That was
broke
good.
your little ships.
Yeah,
I love that one.
See you around, Ahab. Oh man, it's such a good scene.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I was pretty happy. I mean, I couldn't watch it right away, even though I was planning to, because I had to deal with a landlord inspection yesterday.
Ooh.
So
you were inspecting your landlord?
I wish. No, we just we had
wait a minute. There's a story there.
we had some apartment cleaning to do. So you know, so I had to wait a few hours later than I wanted to, but oh well. But still loved it, and I've only seen it 3 times, which is kind of surprising considering how many times I'll go around and watch it, but I'll definitely be watching it more.
Yeah.
Just been busy.
Now, what is your typical viewing habit of new Discovery and now Picard episodes and short treks and stuff? When do you tend to watch them, and where?
I tend to watch them. Well, it depends. Discovery's not a great indicator, because when Discovery was on, I was working at a different job. So now I work from home. So, you know, I can watch whenever. And now that the episodes are on at 3 a.m. for me, I'll watch them as soon as they come on. And, you know, I'll go to bed and catch a few hours after, you know, take a nap, get up at, you know, 2:45 and, you know, watch it then. But I didn't get to do that this time. So.
Dang, you get up at 2:45. That is dedication right there.
It's obsession. That's what I would say.
I would think that you couldn't fall back to sleep afterwards, that your head would be spinning from the episode, and then you'd be online and reading what people are saying. And so so you stay up afterwards, and it's not till later in the day you're ready to crash.
Then I crash. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like I would do that if I didn't have to deal with the judgment of my fiance. I feel like she would not be okay with that.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing, because there are some episodes that I'll watch, you know, over and over again, and there are some episodes that I'll, you know, only get in a couple of watches before I have to podcast about it. So it just depends. This time it was 3. Typically, I'm thinking I might be able to get in 5 watches before I podcast. And then, of course, I'll keep watching because I'm kind of obsessed.
Yeah. I'll definitely have another few watches while I'm making videos about it and stuff. But the big one is I'm having a bunch of people over on Saturday night for a Picardy to watch the first episode.
Nice.
And we'll probably do that every week, probably whenever we can anyway.
Should do that.
A bunch of people watch it together.
Should do that Picardingo that Rhea started. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. Yeah,
was that the hater bingo one, or
no? There's another one she did, and it's basically there's like 100 phrases in there, and you get 2 bingo cards. So it's, you know, like 47 or you know, something about the Borg, or, you know, war for there's you get 25 things in your card, and you have 2 cards. So you know, cool. It's like regular bingo, except it's just things that could be in Picard.
Neat. So yeah, this episode, actually I didn't mention that earlier, but I didn't see any or hear any 47s. But there was a some kind of,
there was 227 The
Yeah.
the artwork was
The archive.
227.
Yeah.
And here's one that I'm going to be checking. It didn't pan out this time, but the number of credits in the opening credit sequence is currently at 43. And I thought,
wow.
Yeah. So, but if you think about it, they don't have all the actors in the credits yet. There's only 4 of them in the credits right now, or like 4 plus Brent Spiner. So there were 5. So once you start seeing the rest of the cast, you might have 47 right there.
Wow.
So
I would never think to count those.
Yeah,
I'm surprised it's that high. I mean, I know there's like everybody and their mother's an executive.
Did you notice, like, okay, so there's 4 creators. There's, like, I think half a dozen co-executive producers, half a dozen executive producers. Plus, this episode had the longest number of writing credits that I've probably seen since yesterday's Enterprise.
Yep.
Like, it was just... and it had ampersands and ands in it.
Yep.
So
it was
James
Akiva
Duff,
Goldsman and Michael Chabon and Alex Kurtzman and A&D James Duff.
Yeah.
And that was just the story. The teleplay was Akiva Goldsman and James Duff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, on my podcast, I gave a little like primer into ampersand versus and why they're used.
Yeah,
good. I love grammar. I do actually.
It's a whole. It has to do with the Writers Guild and who gets credit for what, and it's like ampersands are like if you're working in tandem with somebody, like a creative team, they get like, for example, First Contact was Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga. I think it was in that order. And same with Generations. So they worked together on the script. But in this example, James Duff did an independent rewrite. So because he wasn't working with them on the story, he got the and.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing.
The crazy ones is when you see the teams, it's like 3 people with ampersands and then 2 other people with ampersand between them. So 2 different teams handled it, but not all together, kind of thing.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah. But there's a whole long line of things. And I'm wondering how much we're going to see of that through the rest of the season. Probably, I would think as far as writing credits, it'll kind of settle down, but we'll see.
Yeah, pilots always kind of get that big treatment, go through a lot of people's hands and stuff.
Yeah, trying to figure out, the direction and the setup and all that. Yeah. It's like how this show developed. There are so many people involved.
So many. You and me and Dan.
Yeah.
Are we still on YouTube or no?
Oh,
we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We totally are.
You can plug your shows. We've got 21 people watching right now.
Oh, okay.
Except before anyone does that, I am going to depart because I am hungry.
Yes.
And when Brandi gets hungry, Brandi gotta eat or Brandi becomes monster.
What you gonna eat?
I have no idea.
If you don't have anything to eat, you get activated.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it until somebody gives me a Snickers and then I'm back to normal setting Brandi.
You're no longer Betty White.
No. So I will bid you all fondly adieu.
All right, we'll see you next Friday.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Have yourself a great night. And
if we're doing this.
We're doing this.
Sorry. Yes, okay.
If you don't want to be here, I'll just do it with Dan.
That guy. Jeez.
Whatever.
What's up with that, Bruce?
Nothing.
Anyway.
I just got to do some lip balm.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna go. Thank you. It's been a lovely evening.
It has.
Have a great night.
Have a good meal.
I will. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, Brandi.
Bye. You can hang up now, Brandi. Okay, there she is. I have the power to disconnect anyone, so you misbehave.
So my Picard podcast is very easy to remember. You just go to StarTrekPicard.com. So
perfect.
Wait, is that really StarTrekPicard.com? You got that?
I bought the domain the day the show was announced.
Oh,
and I got it before CBS bought it, and they haven't tried to get it from me, and I was just
that is strange. You would think they would have done that before they made the announcement.
You would think, but I don't think that. My guess is they had no intentions of calling it Star Trek Picard until they went down the list of names, and maybe we should just call it Picard, and that's probably what happened.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I get, because they said something and a lot of people interpret it as them saying the show will not be called Star Trek Picard, but I think it was more along the lines of, we haven't picked a name yet, we're just calling it Star Trek Picard for now.
And people started calling it Star Trek Picard, so it's like, well, why the hell not call it Star Trek Picard? And it's sometimes Occam's razor is the thing to do. The easiest thing to do turns out to be the correct thing to do.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing for me to do was like, well, I know I'm gonna podcast about this. What kind of domain could I get? Oh, look, Star Trek Picard is available. I'm buying that. Thank you very much. So,
oh, that's great.
I'm typing in right now, Star Trek Lower Decks.com. If it's available, I'm buying it.
There you go.
It's available.
Wow.
Is it available?
I think so. Well, maybe not. Hold on. Is it available?
Okay, well, I'm typing in Star Trek Section 31.
Oh, I spelled it wrong, duh. I made a typo. Oh.
But anyway, my podcast for Picard is called the Star Trek Picard Cast, and I do Discovery, which the Discovery feed has the Picard episodes in it, and that's the Star Trek Discovery podcast, and that's at StarTrekDiscoveryPodcast.com. That's all through Talk Through Media, the network that I started along with my co-hosts like 6 months ago. So we're at, that's talkthroughmedia.com, but if you just go to those other two, it'll redirect to the proper place.
Yeah, I saw that when I put in Star Trek Picard. Yeah,
it takes you to talkthroughmedia.com / /series, I think, /Picardcast. Yeah. I'd
like to know if you get a lot of hits now on that site with that Star Trek Picard.
Well, we're starting to. I mean, and I got my video added to that Captain Picard Day as well. I wasn't originally, but we did a roundtable with Larry Nemechek was on it, and several other people that contribute on the podcast. On we recorded it on Saturday, and we had just released it the day before the Captain Picard Day. So I sent a message to Jesse. I'm like, hey, could I get added? Like, sure. Right away, we started getting a whole bunch of downloads on it, or not downloads, streams. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it was pretty cool undertaking.
Yeah.
Glad Jesse was able to put that together. That was really cool.
And did you guys all independently pick the episodes that you were going to talk about, or did you kind of have to coordinate that?
We coordinated a bit. There was a Google Doc, and people could kind of claim what they wanted to talk about. I had watched First Contact the day before, so I was like, well, I'm picking this one.
We did our roundtable, although it wasn't specifically covering an episode or a movie. It was related because we did the roundtable based on what makes Picard such a compelling character. And that fit right in with what you guys are doing. So,
it's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It was fate.
Well, sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
I was actually just gonna say this feels weird because it's my channel, but I think I'm gonna have to pop away as well. But by all means, continue the conversation. But go ahead with what you were gonna say, and then I'll
well, I was
disappear.
I'm still curious why you're not on Trek FM. It doesn't make any sense.
Why
the live show isn't on Trek?
Yeah, exactly.
I see. I gotcha.
Do you want me to answer that, Dan, or do you want to do it?
I think you know better than me. I just offered the space, basically.
Well, yeah, and it's
you'll get
great.
you will get the answer. Let me take this off here. Now, by the way, this is brought to you by Pluto TV. No, it's not.
Pluto TV.
It's a nice soft shirt they gave me. I like it. So the live show, so this one started, of course, I assume people listening or watching know about this, but maybe not. But real quick, we do the live show for Discovery, Live from the Edge. Brandi and I have done that for the last 2 seasons. And then as we're doing the short treks, we're wondering, is there going to be a live show for Picard? And of course, the Trek FM show for Picard is The Line. And so Chrissy and Brandon and Justin are doing the regular show of The Line. And from what, first of all, Brandon and I were just kind of waiting, is there going to be a live show? Are we going to be doing it? We're just waiting to hear some word from it. And the short story is there, I guess Chris Jones, who runs the network, and I've never talked to him about this, but he wasn't planning to do a live show for The Line for Picard. But then the hosts of The Line wanted to do a live show themselves and make it as part of the regular show. So they would do it live and then release it as part of the regular show. And Chris was, I guess, on the fence and hadn't made a decision. And then when the 2 animated short treks came out, the hosts of The Line were supposed to come on that live episode with us at the beginning to introduce that they were going to start doing their live show with Children of Mars, the first short trek. And that was going to be the handing over of the baton to them. But then Chris hadn't come back with an answer. They didn't feel comfortable making the announcement because they weren't sure if they were allowed to do live or not. And so they scrapped the whole live thing, and they're not even entertaining it anymore. I think Chris has come around to saying he'd be okay with it, but it was too last minute.
Yeah, it's a little late now.
So, but we've had several people that like the live show that reached out to us and, like, hey, is going to be a live show? Are you going to do a live show? We're just like, well, Trek FM doesn't seem to really want to do a live show for Picard. Well, and Dan's like, well, we can just do it on my channel. And we're like, let's just keep it going. I mean, we're not releasing these, at least right now, as podcasts like they do with Live from the Edge, but we thought there's a lot of people that like doing this and we like doing it. So we'll just do it on our own.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of fun. So,
yeah.
I know I was one of them that kept asking you. That's probably the 5th time I've asked you. But
I mean,
it's
strange.
It is odd. It seems like a no-brainer to me. And even if someone else was going to do it, the format has been established, so you'd think, he'd just be okay with going ahead. Maybe it's the 10 episode commitment. I don't know if it's more work for him or something. I don't know.
The only work he does with the live, and this is the behind the scenes stuff, when we do live, we record our own audio. So as soon as we stop live, then I do like a quick edit. It's not the kind of editing we do for a regular podcast. It's really just putting the tracks together and putting the music at the beginning, at the end. That's pretty much all it is. Right. And then I immediately upload it for Chris, and then the next morning he releases it because we try to get it out ASAP by the next morning. So maybe that is on him. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's because he doesn't care for the live shows. I don't know. I have no idea.
The other thing is, I guess if we had gotten Positively Trek off the ground sooner, this was kind of going to be like a companion piece to that.
Yes.
That didn't happen. But I was like, let's still do it. Like this is fun. So
and it's kind of our testing ground, I guess, in a way too, for that.
Are you doing Positively Trek on your own podcast feed, or what are you planning for
know.
that?
Dan, no. That's to be determined. I mean, as of right now, yes.
If
but
you
we've
guys
had
want,
offers. And here comes another one.
Yep. You can join Talk Through Media if you want to. I could probably put everything up together within a couple of days, and you guys would be all set up, ready to go. It doesn't cost me anything extra. So the way we have our hosting set up, it's like unlimited podcasts that we have. So all it literally just takes is me to set up a different series and a different it's called series and show. It's weird WordPress stuff, but basically I just have to go in the settings and just tweak a feed and make sure the artwork's there and all that, and then just give you the account information, and there you go. And you don't even need to upload it to the host. WordPress does that automatically, so it's easy. So anyway, there's the offer. If you want to do it, you can do it with Talk Through Media, or if you want to do it yourself, I can help you show you how. It's easy enough to do. So just a little more work to get the WordPress set up, but but I can help you along if you need the help.
Yeah, well, thanks. That's appreciated for sure.
Thanks. Yeah, the Star Wars Report, we do WordPress. Upload. I know what you're talking about with that. Yeah. It is pretty easy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I don't know. Dan's been busy, so
that's changing though. So things are. I'm less sick now too, which is good. So.
Anyway, the offer's there. So if you guys are interested, let me know. And either way, like I can help. I can show you what to do if you want to set up your own thing, or if you want to host with us, I can get that going.
Well, as you're saying this, I thought, gosh, if we did that, I'd almost want to change the name of the podcast to StarTrekPicard.com. Take advantage of that URL,
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Well, Dan, I know you gotta go. I probably need to go too. My wife is probably wondering where.
Yeah, I'm gonna get going myself, but yeah, I saw that you guys were still on, and like, I should join in, since we have to stop the recording. We have to basically record part 2. So we had like 16 pages of feedback this week.
Jeez.
So
wow.
We recorded like about halfway, and then we stopped, and we'll record the rest tomorrow, and I'll splice it together. But yeah.
So that will come out tomorrow, you think? Or
nah, probably not till Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll look for that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we tend to have pretty long episodes because we do like all we make sure all the feedback gets in, and then we layer our stuff on top of that. So it's I don't think anybody else does it the way we do it, but people seem to like it. So
that's cool. Yeah.
Our live episodes lately have been going long, like 2 hours and 22 minutes and 15 seconds.
Well, especially for Picard, this first episode, I'm sure you expected it to go long.
Oh yeah.
Well, just so you know, because you missed the first part, we were a half hour into this, and I pointed out we've been doing it for 30 minutes, and we had just gotten through the part about the opening credits. I was like, we're gonna be here all night.
just because you were talking about the cold open.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the cold up. Yeah, the whole. We were going in it like as if we were watching it. Like, okay, so the first thing we saw was, and we're just going through it and kept going.
Oh, there's a lot there, and like I said, for me, it exceeded my already very high expectations. So. I couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah, yes. I was definitely excited.
It is a great time to be a Trek fan.
Oh, isn't it? That's second golden age of Trek, as they say.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
Definitely.
I know, I love it.
And I don't understand the Kurtzman hatred from some of these people. It's just like,
yeah.
Or like with the last short track about the ships. It's like, how long have we been seeing the Miranda class?
Yeah.
If they need every ship that they can find, if they, they're not going to be able to make 10,000 ships. They're going to have to, go into the scrap yards and pull things from, the junkyard and just,
Tim Dockachin at the Quailor 2 surplus depot is going to be busy.
There you go. Yeah, the Zach Dorn.
Yeah, and they're making updates and they're fitting the ships. I'm sure if you went inside of them, they look different. Updated. Yeah. So, don't throw out the old. I wouldn't be here.
Stay with me. Yeah. All right. Well, I got to get to editing this first half, so I'm going to get off here too. So,
all right.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah,
nice talking to you. Glad
Thanks for jumping in. Yeah,
that was fun.
No problem. I enjoyed it. All right. Later.
People are tuning in right now going, Brandi looks different. All right. We'll see you.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Well, have yourself a good evening then, I guess. I'm going to take off as well. So goodbye, anyone who's still watching. Thanks for tuning in.
People, bye. Have a good evening and great weekend. We'll see you next. Bye.
Take care.